Amen. And the Washington County Quorum Court is now called into session. It's happy February. Good to see so many here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I ask J.P. Rio Stafford to lead us in prayer and pledge.
The historic St. James Missionary Baptist Church.
There's a face of a guy.
Yeah, on the little stand.
On that, there you go.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to pray. If you will all bow with me. We come before you today, thanking you for these civic leaders that's here today, Lord. We ask you to watch over, lead them, and guide them. We thank you that they've accepted the call of the duty to be able to care for this community, to care for the downtrodden, to care for the ones that's marginalized. We pray for them and their families. We pray that their minds and their hearts are on the city, on the people of the county, on the state of Arkansas. We pray for our country, and I pray for our leaders that they are covered and kept from hurt, harm, or danger, that you give them a heart to continue to lead as they were elected to do the right thing, to choose the right thing to do at all times. We ask you to just lead us in this meeting, and that you would give us discernment on what is right to do and how to show up for our city, our community, and our county. Now watch over us and lead us as we finish this meeting on today, and we will always give you praises. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go to our next item on the agenda, presentation on Black History Month. And I'm really pleased, and I think you will be as well. We have in our meeting here today a legend. I will call her a legend. She has been and continue to be. And as we look and reflect on Black history here in Washington County, a lot of what we've done is because of some of the work, clearly, of our JPs and this particular young lady I wanted to speak to. So I have a proclamation I'd like to share. Oh, let's go ahead and cue, yes, let's go ahead and cue the video, and then I'll. Greetings, Washington County. I'm Joseph Wood, County Judge here in Washington County, and so pleased to be with you as we reflect on Black history and look at the experiences and where we've been. Here it is, February 2022, and I'm here in the county archives. It's been an honor serving as county judge, and now my second term, the first Black county judge in Washington County and Arkansas's history, and I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to spend time and serve with you. I'm here in the archives because Washington County was one of the few counties that was able to retain and hold on to their records in the early 19th century, because across the country, many courthouses and records were burned and lost because of the Civil War and the fires that were consuming those records. We were able to save those. Our records were actually removed from the county courthouses and put in Fincher's Cave near Black Oak, and many guys would know that, and it was a providential move to do that. It was allowing us to retain documents prior to the 19th century, and the courthouse burned in 1862. In fact, a young slave girl named Adeline, she was the one who kind of helped us understand and recounted her story and giving the account of the courthouse burning. The Civil War days were vivid to me. The courthouse, which was in the middle of the square, was burned one night by a crazy Confederate soldier. The old man in the town saved him, and they put him in the county jail to keep him from burning other houses. Each family was to take food to him, and they furnished bedding. The morning I was to take him breakfast, he had ripped open his feather bed and crawled inside to get warm. The room was so full of feathers when I got there that his food nearly choked him. I had carried him ham and hot biscuits and a hot pot of coffee. I did not really appreciate or understand the significance of becoming county judge, being the first in Arkansas, the first in Washington County. It was really after I started the role and taking on and working through and working with elected officials and justice of the peace, but really traveling and meeting my colleagues across the state. I started spending more time with county judges, and then as I got into the archives and started spending time in the archives department, when I realized the very first property deeds in this county in 1828, 1830 were slaves, 3 slaves that were the first deeded property in the county. It hit me that while here I am a little less than 200 years later as the county judge, as the executive of the county, and working and presiding over these archives and working with elected officials, it really did take on a significant and really brought it home to me.
I first learned of that, being a JP, by the Judge Charles Johnson, and he and his wife Phyllis came and asked me if I would run. And I'm one of those people that says, okay, having no clue or know nothing of knowing what it was, what I was getting into, what I was doing. So what happened was that Lal Thompson and a few more of the older members came aboard and actually walked me through what the Justice of the Peace was, what Quorum Court was, and we went from there. I'd never been able to actually think about a political journey one way or the other. But when I got into it and I learned what it was all about, and I didn't even have a thing of what the county was about. I didn't know what the county was doing. I learned from the bottom up as to what I was what was expected of me, what I was doing, where I was going. And that to me was a start. And when they said I had to campaign, I went, wait. And, but I said, okay, what do I do? How do I go about this? I was on District 5, not knowing what District 5 was, where I was going, how I was going to campaign, all of this. And those older people on the court sit me down, talked to me, and told me how to do it and what to do. And I went from there. I had one slogan when I started to run for the court, and that was, if I win, I win. If I lose, I win. Because of the fact that being the first African American to go for this ride, I was saying I open the door for anybody else that wants to try it to be able to do it. And the thing was that, to me, the journey that I took on the court, the committees that I was on the court, were more than a teaching or a learning. I met people that I still remember. I met friends. But I learned what it meant to be an official of the Quorum Court altogether, which in my sight was I could go in the community of where I lived and say, this is what Quorum Court is, and this is what it does, so that everybody else that came aboard would have an idea of what they were getting into. And the two largest things that I remember was the new county jail, when Helder first started and the tunnel. We had the discussions of those two things over and over and over, and it was neat to be a part of that. It was neat for me to keep my calm and just to be able to don't let me lead you down the wrong path. There were those that we had the discussion and we were on the same page by the time I told them what I thought and how I thought. But that, to me, that was a wonderful experience. I still have a lot of things that I remember. I remember the people, and I remember the help that I had, and I remembered trudging around in this building and finding out who was who and what was where I was going, and it was great. It was a great opportunity. It was a great thing to be able to learn, especially how the county works.
Hi, my name is Gary Mchenry. I was appointed by Governor Asa Hutchinson to the Washington County Quorum Court in September of 2015. Thankfully, I had previous experience in public service because serving in a public forum can sometimes be challenging. Nonetheless, I was excited and proud for my appointment. I wanted to be a statesman and not just a politician. I wanted the decisions that I made to result in forward progress for Washington County's citizens. My term ended in December of 2016. As a parting encouragement to my colleagues, I wanted to share with them a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. King, in a speech in 1965, said this about progress. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step towards a goal requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. In addition, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Public service is not always easy, but it's always rewarding to those who understand what is required.
When I think about serving Washington County, service was actually my goal. I was not elected to serve Washington County, I was appointed. And being a Black woman serving Washington County was a joy and a privilege that I will never hold lightly. I didn't have the choice in being born in a Black race, and the people of District 7 didn't have a choice in me being their JP. I prayed when I got that position, and I asked God to give me wisdom and to help me serve a people that didn't know me and might not like me, or they may even be against me. I was blessed with the thought of serve them in the way that you would want to be served. I had a great time serving Washington County. It was hard and challenging at times, but it was an humbling experience. I met with people who at times agreed with me and other times disagreed with me. Some liked my ideas and others didn't, but I served anyway. The people of District 7 invited me to events and meetings, and I connected with them and discussed what they wanted and what they needed as a people of Washington County and things that related to the county. I remember having to guide and advise some people because they would want me to solve national or other civic issues. So I would guide them to the right person or the right governing body that would help them in those needs. But in the business of Washington County, I would share what I knew and also my ideas on how county issues should be solved. And then I would ask the people what they wanted or how they wanted those issues to be solved, basically letting them know that they also have a choice. I worked for them and with them. We worked together, the people of Washington County and I. As a citizen, I want to be heard and I want to be represented. And as a JP, I tried to make sure that the people of Washington County not only felt that they were heard and represented, but they were actually heard and represented. Was my Black race a factor? Maybe for some, but for the most part, I was their JP, and I was there to help them with their needs. All elected and appointed officials should never forget that the citizens are who we work for and serve, and that's how it should be. And I'm thankful to Washington County and to the people of District 7 for the service and the opportunity that I had being appointed the District 7 JP.
So I've been thinking about Black history, what it means to be a Black elected official in Washington County. And I can't help but think back in 1828 when Washington County was established that there is absolutely no way that a Black woman could serve in the capacity as an elected official. I wholeheartedly believe that our elected officials and our leadership should reflect the communities that we represent. And I am so elated to walk in the footsteps of women like Ms. Jessie Bryant and serve the constituents of District 8. On a personal level, being a Black elected official is also very fulfilling for me because my father was actually the first Black elected official in the county that I grew up in. And so just being a part of his legacy and other legacies of other Black elected officials, not just here in Washington County, but just everywhere, that really means a lot to me.
And what a tremendous journey it has been for me. Elected in 2016 by the folks in Washington County with a record number of votes and all across the county to go in and be sworn in January of 2017 was astounding. And I stand on the shoulders of this county and where we come from. Earlier I talked about the archives and some of the first property and deeds of the county being slaves. And so I stand on the shoulder of where our history has been, but still what's possible. And hearing from Justice of the Peace Bryant and Justice of the Peace Gary Mchenry and Justice of the Peace Chandra Washington, again, it just continues to spell and showcase what is possible here in Washington County, that all citizens of Washington County are able to serve and be a beacon of hope across this county, serving all the citizens of Washington County. I've enjoyed the ride. I enjoy and encourage folks to get engaged, get involved in serving their county. And so with that, and let me see, is Gary Mchenry here or Alicia Devins? No, okay. I was going to make sure we recognize them, but we do have JP, I'm going to call you JP, Jessie Bryant here. I want to read a proclamation that whereas Jessie Bryant broke down centuries-old barriers when she was elected Washington County's first African-American Justice of the Peace in 1992, and whereas Jessie Bryant continued to serve on the Washington County Quorum Court for 16 years before deciding not to seek another term in 2008. And whereas Jessie Bryant established the Northwest Arkansas Free Health and Dental Clinic in 1986, which continues to provide free health and dental services to our low-income individuals throughout Northwest Arkansas. And whereas Jessie Bryant's dedication and service to her community has garnered her various awards and accolades, including the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Service Award, both in 1989 and again in 1992. Now I, therefore, Joseph K. Wood, County Judge of Washington County, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim today, February 17, 2022, to be our county's Jessie Bryant Day. Jessie Bryant. Miss Jessie, will you stand? You don't want to get back up in there, do you?
No.
Now, I would tell you one other thing she shared with me. She said, "You running for lieutenant governor? That means county judge is gonna be on it." She's thinking about it. Here you go. Here you go. Can we do a stand right here? Stand right. Okay. Are you?
Do you want me to come around?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Jesse Bryant Day. JP Bryant, are you going to stay are you going to stay for the entire meeting? Oh. All right, so if you guys wanted to grab her, shake her hands, you might have to catch her before she walks out the door. JP Johnson? JP Johnson.
Thank you, Judge. I raise a question of privilege.
What's your point of privilege? Or question? Matter of privilege.
I bring before the body a resolution recognizing County Judge Joseph K. Wood as both the first African-American county judge in the state of Arkansas and the first African-American elected countywide official in Washington County, Arkansas.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We have a resolution. Would the county attorney read the resolution?
Go ahead.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Washington, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution recognizing County Judge Joseph K. Wood as both the first African-American county judge in the state of Arkansas and the first countywide elected official in Washington County, Arkansas. Whereas nearly 186 years have elapsed since Arkansas was admitted as a state to the Union on June 15, 1836, and whereas in 2016, Joseph K. Wood was elected to the position of Washington County Judge, making him the very first African-American to hold that position in the county's history. And whereas, upon election, Judge Joseph K. Wood became the very first African-American county judge in the history of Arkansas. Whereas in 2018, Judge Joseph K. Wood became the very first African-American to be reelected as county judge in both the state of Arkansas and Washington County. Whereas Judge Joseph K. Wood has faithfully performed his duties as Washington County Judge and has presided over the Washington County Quorum Court as an impartial, estimable public servant, treating all with kindness and civility. Whereas the Quorum Court desires to recognize the historical significance of County Judge Joseph K. Wood's tenure in both the state of Arkansas and Washington County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, Article 1, on behalf of the citizens of Washington County, Arkansas and the Quorum Court, we hereby celebrate Judge Joseph K. Wood for dedicated public service to Washington County, and we express our appreciation to him for a job well done. Article 2, Justices of the Peace express their pleasure of having served with Judge Joseph K. Wood on the Quorum Court.
Wow. There's a motion to adopt the resolution in a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And I really do. Miss Jessie's left, but I stand on, as I said. Oh, gosh.
the slaves, the first slaves in Washington County, and then to see Jesse and Chandra. And I've been knowing these guys for a while, and to see and what they continue to do, watching Chandra's kids continue to just take on that, and it is possible. It really is. And so, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Did we take election? We voted?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Let's move on. Adoption of the agenda.
JP Ecke has an amendment.
Thank you, Judge.
JP
I
Ecke.
have an amendment to the agenda. It is ordinance 2022. And what this is amending an ordinance that permits the committee chairman to set the time for their committee meetings. If I can have that added to the agenda.
So
And that will be at your pleasure, wherever you want.
What number? So it would be added to.
It'd be added to.
Okay, so that'll be item 18?
18, that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you, Judge.
All right, we have amend the agenda by adding item 18, which is the chair being able to set time for the committee meetings. Is there a second? And a second? All in favor? Those opposed? All right, so that'll be item 18. JP Ecke and JP Deacons.
Thank you, Judge Wood. I have an item to add to the agenda. It was emailed out with the original agenda that we had. It's an ordinance recognizing revenue and appropriating expenditures in the amount of $3 million to the Emergency Rental Assistance Grant Fund for 2022. This is our additional emergency rental assistance money that we've received as a county, and we received it in between the committee meetings and this meeting, so we needed to add it to the agenda tonight so we can appropriate that money. I make a motion that we add that item to the agenda.
Got a motion to add, that would be item 19. So I add item 19, $3 million emergency rental assistance. Is there a second? And a second. All in favor? Aye. And those opposed? All right, that would be item 19, ERA, JP Deacon. All right, is there adoption of the amended agenda with the two items?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second by JP Wilson to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, we have the adoption of the agenda. All right, we'll move on to item 5, preliminary motions. This is where, again, we'll, if so choose, to read resolutions and ordinances by title only. Do we have a motion? JP Duncan.
Judge, I move that resolutions and ordinances be read by title only.
We've got a motion and a second preliminary to read ordinances and resolutions by title only. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right. Item 6, citizen comments. This is where we ask you guys to come and visit with us, share what's on your mind about the county, and when you do come, we got 3 minutes. We ask that you state who you are and where you're from. Good evening.
Is the mic on?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Richard Tiffany. I live in Fayetteville. And as you can see, I'm still in a wheelchair by order of Judge Wood. I voted for Judge Wood and thought that he would continue the treatment, that everyone would be treated equally. But he's failed totally in that, in the treatment of me as someone with a disability, insisting on an evaluation of my disability and treatment for that goes against what the doctors that I have given him letters from have said. And he threatens me with the guards out front every time that I come in. If I wasn't threatened, I wouldn't be in a wheelchair. I don't need a wheelchair. And I'm tired of him threatening me. It's totally against ADA law for threats and intimidations for someone seeking to access to public spaces. And then to have this show today of how great things are moving forward, but then to totally ignore what what's happening to me every time that I come here. I'd have a lot of other things that I'd rather be talking about. I'd rather be talking about funds for people who are hungry. I'd rather be talking about the people who are homeless. That the homeless population in the county is probably 4 or 5 times what it was before COVID. And it seems like the only thing that the county wants to spend money on is expanding the county jail, which is a violation of the rules for the use of ARPA funds. It just, I'm really disappointed in you. And I wish that you would treat me as an equal and let me just walk in here like everyone else. I just don't understand. It just is, yeah. Well, something needs to be done about it.
Okay, Mr. Tiffany, your time has expired. Unless you have any further comment, you just going to, Mr. Tiffany? Are you done? Thank you. Citizen comments? Citizen comments.
I come to you as a citizen this time, Robert Dennis. I live in Prairie Grove, or I have a Prairie Grove address. Technically, I live in Farmington. So thank you very much for the Mrs. Bryant. I have a personal story about her, and I really appreciate her and her family. But what brought me up here is Richard Tiffany. Now, I heard the words that he said, and they were pretty good. But if you remember a few months ago, and he parked the wheelchair up here, and he walked and just left the wheelchair, and he walked out of here. That particular night when I left, and if you remember, I put the wheelchair up. So when I went outside, he approached me, and he said, "You were embarrassed. You were embarrassed because I left that wheelchair there, weren't you? Trying to save the judge." I said, "No, I simply moved the wheelchair out of the way." And he said, "Well," he said, "I want to tell you something. I am going to hire a couple of thugs to come in and drag the judge out and beat him up."
Public comments are to be addressed to me. Mr. Tiffany, we gave you your time. Address me. You all have an opportunity to come and have your citizen comments. Mr. Dennis, go ahead.
I was standing right there when that
Mr. Dennis, go ahead.
Well, we were not standing by anybody.
Mr. Dennis, direct your comments to me.
Okay, Judge, we were standing farther out in the parking lot away from everybody else. And he said those comments to me, and I said to him, "I think you might want to say that in a different way, or I'm going to have to go back in and tell the sheriff what you just said, because that is terroristic threatening." He said, "Oh, I didn't mean to say I'm going to do it. I said if I did that." So you can come in and act like that you're so hurt and so this, that, and the other, and then you tell me something that directly to myself, and I did report it the next morning. And I just think the public needs to know, because I wrestled with it, and I thought, well, what if I let some statement like that go, and then something like that happens? I would feel very guilty. So I'll stand by my statement. I stand by it anytime anybody wants to challenge me. I heard the comments behind me. But it is the truth. It was what's said, and I reported it the next morning. Now I'm reporting it publicly so everybody else can know a little bit more about Richard Tiffany. Thank you.
Mr. Dennis, public comments.
Gladys Tiffany, Fayetteville. And I really had no intention of speaking tonight, but that comment by Mr. Dennis was
Direct your comments to me. Go ahead.
Was so incredibly offensive and so absolutely untrue. To begin with, I'm not sure what he was talking about going out in the parking lot. No, we were standing right underneath the canopy in the back. And when he came out, I thought he was joking when he said something along the line of, I thought there might be a bomb in it. So, you know, I mean, I thought it was kind of a joke. So, you know, I didn't take it. Richard was very offended at it. But Richard, you know, there was a little bit of discussion. None of what Mr. Dennis said was true in any way. He totally fabricated that report. And if he has turned in a report about that, I am publicly telling the court right now that he has fabricated that. And I want people to know that I'm incredibly disappointed in him, because I really think that he is such a good man. I thought that he was such a good man, but someone who would make up lies like that about a citizen is just beyond description.
Public comments.
Hello, my name is Quinn Foster. I'm with Defend Northwest Arkansas. I am a resident of Springdale. I'm incredibly disappointed that an individual has chosen to take a time where we all come together and peacefully decide how to move forward to launch a public attack on a citizen of this county. I'm incredibly disappointed, Judge. I'm also disappointed that there are members of this quorum court who seem to be looking to laud Dr. Caracas. If I'm pronouncing the name correctly, am I, Judge?
No. Go ahead.
Fair enough. I'm disappointed that we are choosing to give an individual an award after he failed to abide by basic medical guidelines of informed consent. I'm disappointed that despite seeing an uptick in homelessness, people going hungry, people needing resources here in Washington County, that the conversation has continued to move forward of building a bigger jail. Frankly, I've lived here, and I don't think we need a bigger jail. I talk to the majority of the people who are going in and out of your jails. They need resources, better education, better job opportunities. They need a better way to move forward. If you think locking people in cages is a great way to do that, then I think you should spend a weekend at the cage if you're going to make that decision. Just my honest thoughts as a citizen here. Finally, I do want to circle back to one firm thing. This is a democracy, and I really appreciate some of the constitutional rights of this democracy. The free speech right here, of course, is one of the most sacred. But also, due process is another one that's extremely sacred. So, please, respect your positions. If you're not going to, may I ask for each and every one of y'all's resignations?
Public comments?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Koger. I live at 3661 Embry Drive, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Last time I spoke to you, I asked, I'm talking about the proposed jail expansion. I asked how we were going to pay for the maintenance and operation of the expanded jail if we add the 232 beds. So I want to, I've heard no one has gotten back to me to answer my question, but just in case someone is thinking that we will rent those beds out and bring in money, I just want to tell you that what happened in 2021. In 2021, we rented 21,895 jail bed days to the U.S. Marshal's Office. That brought in rental income of $1,751,600. It actually cost the county $96.34 a day, or $2,109,364, or a loss to the county of $357,764. I know that we no longer have the Madison County contract for prisoners, but in 2021, we rented 8,740 bed days to Madison County at a rate of $73.81 per day, bringing rental income of $645,099. But it cost us $842,012, or a loss of $196,913. And I know we're required to keep state prisoners, but for state prisoners, we rented 37,690 bed days, rental income of $1,206,080. But the actual cost to the county at $96.34 per day is $3,631,055, or a loss of $2,424,975. So I'd just like us to all remember that as we go forward with this jail expansion. Thank you.
Citizen comments?
Clinch Necklace, Fayetteville, these are my shoes.
Citizen comments? Citizen comments? Hold. So go ahead.
My name is William Terrell. I'm a citizen of JP District 12 out of Washington County in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And out of the 6 or 7 years that I've known Joseph Wood, that I've known Robert Dennis, I just vouch for his character. I have never once been lied to or experienced any dishonesty from him. He's always accurately represented himself, the party, and what he's doing both in my life and the lives of others on this court and outside of this court. And for that, I'd like to vouch. So, thank you.
Thank you. Citizen comments? Minute and a half left in citizen comments. All right, with that, then we'll go ahead and move on to item 7, approval of the minutes. A motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second. Motion to approve minutes and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, minutes have been approved. County Judge's report, you should have a disposal county property report in your packet. The presentation will be my report. Let's go ahead and move on to item 9, unfinished business. I got it. So, so item 9, we did not ask to take it off the agenda, but the applicant has asked to table it again. They tabled it when they were here at the meeting. Pardon me? All right, so we got a motion to table item 9. The citizen comment piece is over. All right, let me address the motion first. Let me address the motion first. There's a motion by JP to table this item. Was there a second? Okay, there's not a second. Who seconded the motion? All right, so JP Ake has seconded. Okay, so there's a motion. All right, so there's not a second? All right, so then they'll stay on the agenda. Item 9, they tabled it last meeting, so it didn't go into JP deciding whether or not to pass the conditional use permit or to deny it. With that, it's on its, second read? Oh, it never made it to its first read. All right, so JP Lemming, you want to read the title by title only?
Well, no, because there's not been a motion made whether to approve or deny. So we didn't even get to that part last time. So there would need to be a motion in order to read it to either approve the ratification, or ratify, or deny the ratification.
JP Lemming, and then JP Wilson.
Let's give it to JC Wilson.
All right, JP Wilson.
It's his.
I move that we
approve the denial of the Planning Commission.
All right, so there's a motion to approve the denial, so the planning board denied, and you're putting a motion in to approve that denial. And there's a second. All right, now there's discussion. Any discussion? All right, public comments?
First, I would like to say thank you for allowing us to
First, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Okay.
Where you live.
My name is Tara Browning. I am located at 22161 Bug Scuffle Road in West Fork, and I want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak tonight. This is the largest turnout that we've had on our side. I'm not sure why the applicants denied it, other than maybe they couldn't be here. I will say, yes, I'm going to say something in favor of them, but just so you know the whole story, they did have the perk test conducted. They did submit it to you guys. We did see that they passed it. But we are all here because despite the approval of the septic system, despite them installing a septic system, we don't want this. So please bear with me. I appreciate your time. Again, I live at 22161 Bug Scuffle Road, and with regards to the approval of the CUP for the Rock Tower layover, I am requesting you to deny the appeal of the decision of the planning board, or I guess the correct term would be approve the denial. So I am the very adjacent property owner. I also own the property located at 22317 Bug Scuffle Road, which is even closer to where my current home is. This closer property is where I have an approved septic design and perk test that has already been approved by the Washington County Health Department. I have had a water tap installed here. I've had blueprints, custom home blueprints designed for my home. We've lived at our place for 3 years now, but for 1 year, our home planning the building of our home has been put on hold because nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody wants an RV park literally in their backyard. My husband and I both work over an hour from where we live, but we have chose this location because we desire to live in a family-safe, peaceful area that is able to accommodate our plans for having a hobby farm. So during our first 2 years there, we've had the hobby farm. We've created it. We've had our plans to build our home, perk test, water tap improved, but again, this has been put on hold for a year now. The first reason is because the proposed RV park interest and location will be roughly 53 to 60 yards away from my back porch. That's not very far. This is not just a park for RVs. It is an RV park for the purpose of trail riding in the national forest. They will be using 1,000 cc razors and UTVs. Can you imagine having these UTV vehicles in your backyard at all hours of the day and night while you're trying to sleep or raise a family? The noise level is intolerable some nights, as is already, from when the Englands bring their friends out to their property. We should not have to be subjected to this. Second, my husband and I have done everything.
Go ahead and start wrapping it up so you get other public comments to come through. So go ahead and make your final comment.
My husband and I have been together for 13 years. We don't have children yet because we have tried everything in our power to ensure we have a family-safe environment for our family. We previously lived in Springdale, where we were subjected to gang violence and just a lot of problems, and so we had to move. Okay. We started our search for a family-safe area. We found it. I researched everything.
All righty. Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Again, you got another number of people back there.
Can I please just say one more sentence?
Quickly.
Okay. The RV park brings strangers. They could be serial killers, sex offenders. They could be anything.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Citizen comments? Come on.
My name is Cassandra Julik. I live at 22551 Bug Scuffle. I live approximately 200 yards from the proposed RV site. Thank you for hearing us tonight. I really do appreciate it. Some of us has come a long way. I submitted a letter to all the JPs, but I want to build that into a highlight reel for you tonight. I grew up in Bug Scuffle. I spent all of my teenage years there. I moved away from college. When I decided to raise a family, my husband and I started a family in Bug Scuffle. For the simple fact that our family is near, it's a rural, it's a quiet area, it's a little slice of heaven on earth. Our community is one of the strongest around, still existing. There's no noise ordinance in Washington County. There's no noise curfew in Washington County. There's no police presence in Bug Scuffle. There never has been. I grew up out there. We've never seen a police presence there because we've never had a problem. If the RV park is passed, there will be no way to control the noise or the disruptions to our community. Safety for my family will always come first, but safety for my community comes a close second. I worry about speed limits because there are none. There are no signs posted. I worry about racing down our dirt road, which happens currently with the use of ATVs. It's dangerous. They race side by side. I worry about drinking and driving. It happens. It's happening every weekend. I would like to reiterate that there is ample camping available in the National Forest. The National Forest has done a great job of making sure that this area is large enough, parking areas, camping areas that are large enough to inhabit campers, trucks, and trailers. It was designed for exactly this purpose. So to bring a campground into our residential area where we raise our families, to make noise all hours of the night riders running up and down the road racing, it's a worry of mine. It's a concern for my family. This is our home. This is my children's home. This is a community that I have chosen to raise my family in and grow old. I appreciate your time, each and every one of you, and I hope that you will deny this.
Citizen comments.
Hello, my name is Mark Falden. I represent the Falden Family Trust at 22139 Bug Scuffle Road. Spoke at the last meeting here. I did email everyone on Monday. I hope everyone had an opportunity to read that. So I'll just summarize real quick here. And the main point I want to make is the criteria that you should decide, make your decision on, right, which is Section 11-200 of the Washington County Statutes. Item 3. Adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and other public services are available and adequate or will be made available and adequate if use is granted. The answer to that is no. The proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area based on the overwhelming response of the neighbors represented here. Please stand up. Is a no. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use item will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. Obviously, that's a no based on our responses. Item 6, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the surrounding area. As Cassie Julich and Tara Browning just stated, that is also a no. So that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for uses permitted in the zone. Once again, Mrs. Browning already has plans for a residence. The proposed RV/UTV park with, as she said, 1,000 cc modified turbocharged UTVs will be 53 yards from her backyard. And finally, that's it. And so finally, we ask that if you do consider this, we ask that you use the power of the board to impose serious, qualifications for the RV park to operate that would not impede our lifestyle. This area was described as the middle of nowhere in a news article after the last Quorum Court meeting. I am here to tell you this is the middle of our lives, and this will seriously diminish our property values and the historical use of our properties. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Citizen comments. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in citizen comments.
My name is Jerry Jens. I'm also a resident of Bug Scuffle 21957. And I am part of the collaboration that has visited with this committee as a father and a son. And my family moved here almost 45 years ago. And as it was reiterated, the end of nowhere. The Washington County, Crawford County line was a dead end. And it took you into Fort Smith if you would be able to travel some really bad roads to get there. And so people utilize that for hunting purposes, the national forest, access to recreational activities. The unfortunate part is the people that are proposed to access the property that is under description here come from an urban environment. And that's okay, right? Everybody's got their pleasures. You have a boat or, you know, your recreational activities. The problem is creating an urban environment in a rural agricultural setting. And the time is not now for that. There is heritage and legacy farmland in this community. And although it's been somewhat subdivided over the years, it is subdivided for the people that are represented back here and others that can't be here, that still support and hold that kind of a legacy idea of land use, property values, seclusion, and you know, right to be kind of left alone and not subjugated to an urban or a rural, or an urban or a subdivision kind of atmosphere, this is the first step to getting to that point, is having my really brief notes. What is the human occupancy rate of the proposed site? So there's 6 slips, I think, that are suggested to be in this, plus a landowner. But what is the occupancy rate of the entire site? And does the proposed septic system and the lift station and the bathhouse support the total occupation of that site? You know, nobody's been given the plans that are concerned in the community. The other thing is, if there's gonna be urban development, which is what this is for our area, then there are multiple things that have to happen for that, and that's infrastructure. So the electricity is there, all right? And so there's a proposed system for septic or sewer or sanitation reasons. Where's the potable water source that is gonna supply literally a 365-day occupancy of those 6 slips? Now, I know it's proposed that it's a 14-day occupancy. So what is the criteria? Does the lot have to be vacant?
Okay, go ahead and start wrapping up your comment.
Is there a certain amount of cleanup that has to happen? And then do they just leave and come back and resume that occupancy? So there's multiple things that just don't work.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Citizen comments is done. We're going to go ahead and ask the council, will you read that one by title only? And then we'll go ahead.
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Ms. Myra, this is, it's on the first read. All right, so we'll move on to March's meeting. J.P. Wilson.
I move that we move on to the second reading, suspend the rules and go to the second reading.
We have a motion to suspend the rules and move to a second reading. Is there a second? And a second by J.P. Ecke. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, so Council, will you read that one for a second?
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Board.
J.P. Wilson.
I move that we suspend the rules and go to third and final reading.
Is there a second? And we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and move to a third and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, Council, go ahead and read that one for a third and final.
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Board.
All right, discussion? Go ahead and make your motion, J.P. Wilson.
I move approval of the denial at this time for this.
All right, there's a motion to approve the denial by the Planning Board of this particular CUP. Is there a second? And a second by J.P. Ecke. Discussion? Go back to public comments. All right. Ms. Meyer, will you go ahead and take the roll?
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
No.
Shannon Marty, Sean Simons, Bill Usry,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
No.
Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan,
No.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison, Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Suki Hires, Evelyn Rios Stafford,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
No.
Jim Wilson,
Yes.
JP Madison, will you? Yes, thank you.
All right, so that passes, all right?
Passed.
That passes. We'll move on to item 12. We'll go ahead and give a second. I think we'll have some people leaving. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to, can we pull that door? All right, we'll move on to item 12. Council, will you read that one by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board for Squirrels Paradise.
And that'd be JP Lemming.
I'd like to let this go to next month, give me another little bit more time on it.
All right, it's on the second reading, so you just want to go ahead and, all right. I'll move on to March's meeting. Item 13. Council, will you read that one by title only?
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board for Premier Storage.
JP Deakins.
I'd like to leave this on third reading for next month.
All right, so that moved to March. Item 14, consent agenda items. Council, will you read those by title only?
Item 1 on the consent agenda is an ordinance appropriating $9,600 from the unappropriated reserves of the general fund to the special legal line item in the county attorney budget for 2022. Item 2 is an ordinance recognizing revenue in the amount of $13,321.56 in the jail fund and appropriating $13,321.56 from the unappropriated reserves of the jail fund to the utilities line item in the jail operations and maintenance budget for 2023. Item 3 is an ordinance appropriating $11,874.72 from the unappropriated reserves of the general fund to various line items in the tax collector budget for 2022. Item 4 is an ordinance appropriating $77,039.10 from the recorder's cost fund to various line items in the circuit clerk's recorder cost budget for 2022. Item 5 is an ordinance appropriating $48,617.83 from the county library fund to various line items in the county library budget for 2022. Item 6 is an ordinance appropriating $19,503.29 from the unappropriated reserves of the general fund to various line items in the buildings and grounds maintenance budget for 2022. Item 7 is an ordinance changing the grades in various positions in the Circuit Court 8 budget and de-appropriating $15,195.40 from various line items in the Circuit Court 8 budget for 2022 and returning said money to unappropriated reserves in the general fund. Item 8 is an ordinance anticipating $23,229,635.50 in the American Rescue Plan Act Fund and appropriating $10 million from the American Rescue Plan Act Fund to the ARPA Revenue Replacement Fund for 2022. Item 9 is an ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $11,900 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund and appropriating $11,900 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the ADR grant budget for 2022. Item 10 is an ordinance establishing 2 funds for the collection of fire dues by the treasurer. And item 11 is an ordinance creating the ARPA administrator position in the American Rescue Plan budget for 2022.
All right. J.P. Duncan?
I move we pass the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, and there's a second. Any discussion? Any public comments? Any public comments?
As again, Quinn Foster, Springdale, Arkansas. Let me find the exact agenda. Let's see. Item number 8. You know, we have dead Arkansans that could have used this money right here, that could have protected their lives, that could have given them the ability to possibly beat the virus, waited out long enough for the vaccines to work. And to see that we want to use this to build a jail truly is just a disgusting waste of time for our democracy. And I truly hoped that this quorum court could do better, but it's made very clear the only way we will be better is by voting out certain individuals who do not want to serve the public, especially with the public's funds.
Public comments? All right, Ms. Myra? Hold tight, Ms. Myra. That's great. Hold on, Ms. Myra. One moment. Okay, this is to approve the consent agenda items that were just read. The total consent agenda items. Ms. Myra, go ahead.
Butch Pond. Yes. Lance Johnson.
Yes.
Shannon Marty. Yes. Sean Simons. Yes. Bill Usry. Yes. Patrick Deakins.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Yes. Sam Duncan.
Yes.
Chandra Washington.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Suki Hires.
No.
Evelyn Rio Stafford.
No.
Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Passed.
All right, consent agenda items passed. Item 15. Council, read that one by title only.
Item 15 is a resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, expressing appreciation to Dr. Robert Karras and Karras Correctional Health.
J.P. Deakins.
Thank you, Judge Wood. I want to take every opportunity we can as a quorum court, and I want to take another opportunity tonight to thank all the individuals that serve our county so dutifully and that have served us so well throughout the pandemic. Particularly this resolution is about our detention center and the unique challenges that's presented to our staff as they try to mitigate and prevent COVID and then try to treat it in that environment. Everyone's just done an outstanding job, I think, for the elements that we've been presented by the pandemic and the facts of that situation and the unique situation that the detention center, as a facility that was never designed to take on a pandemic, has presented the county. And an integral part of that is Dr. Karras and his team with Karras Correctional Health. And tonight I want to recognize their efforts during the pandemic and then their success in treating and mitigating COVID. We can get in partisan debates, we can throw accusations. We live in a society where so much of the negative is what's, clickbait and what's palatable for people to argue, but I want to try to remain focused on the positive. The facts are we've had over 850 cases of COVID within our detention facility, and we've had 0 fatalities. I can't commend that enough. I don't know what we could have asked for from a healthcare provider for the county in terms of that kind of success. I'm proud of the individuals who've come into our facility and served us so well over this time. It's definitely an option. They don't have to serve our county, and I think we're blessed to have them. I don't want this to be a debate about certain treatments or accusations that have been thrown around. This is simply a resolution to thank those individuals who have come into our jail and have done so much great work. I don't want partisan politics to be involved in this. We commend those who serve our county so well when we have the opportunity to. And so this is an opportunity for us to come together, and I want to be very specific about this. I thank Dr. Karras and his staff so much for their service for our county. The majority of this court is appreciative of your efforts, and I think we're blessed to have you. And I just want you to know how proud of you we are and how thankful we are as a county to have you. And so this resolution thanks you for your dedicated service to Dr. Karras and his staff. Judge Wood, I move passage of this resolution tonight. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second by J.P. Simons. Discussion. Let's go J.P. Hires and then J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I struggle with this resolution quite a bit. There's a few things within the resolution itself, some wording that despite the calls tonight, not last week, about keeping partisan politics out of this, they're embedded within this resolution themselves. In particular, you know, notifying like everybody that this disease spread from Wuhan, China. I find that problematic. I also find the phrase starting on number 17 very problematic as well, whereas the numbers and effects of the virus have been largely exaggerated. Hundreds of millions of people have been infected with the virus, resulting in millions of deaths worldwide. I don't. As a teacher, this sentence really bothers me. There's a lot about this resolution that I struggle with, and the biggest part of it is I feel like it is designed precisely to stir up partisan politics. Dr. Karras is, you know, your feelings about Dr. Karras are irrelevant. Your feelings about the treatment of ivermectin are absolutely irrelevant. What is relevant is that Dr. Karras and the Sheriff's Department are currently being sued by the American Civil Liberties Union for allegedly violating basic human rights of implied consent. I think that we really need to do ourselves a favor as a quorum court and steer clear of anything showing support until this court case is resolved. Let the judiciary, which is a separate but equal branch of the government, do its job. And I think it's in our best interest to stay in our lane, to make life better for residents of Washington County, and to stop adding fire to the culture wars. Thank you.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I think what I am struggling with more than anything is, why are we thinking this one person? What about the people at Washington Regional and the COVID unit? What about the emergency room, doctors, nurses, staff, who have been dealing with this on the front line with the worst of the worst for almost 2 years? What about the teachers who've had to teach our children in this environment? What about the people at the jail who've actually worked on the front line with these people? It's just beyond me why we're choosing to single out a county contractor for this recognition. You know, nobody thanked the road department. Why don't y'all arrest him? I think he just engaged in disorderly conduct.
J.P. Madison, go ahead.
When we had a bad snow recently, you know who cleared the roads? The road department. We don't have a resolution thanking them. And they don't pay them enough. We don't pay them nearly as much as we pay Karras Correctional. So I'm just thinking about, why are we choosing to recognize this county contractor? And I think, what has happened to us? This is my 12th year on the Quorum Court, and it is nothing but toxic and negative. Citizens come here and accuse us and threaten us and are hateful to us and laugh at people who speak and make fun of people. I mean, is this what we want to do to our neighbors? Is this what we want? Well, this is what you get when you bring a resolution like this to a body that has no business talking about ivermectin, medical care, none of these issues. We have no business weighing in on this. The legal issues, informed consent, none of us are qualified. The sponsor admits he's not qualified to do this. So why are we doing this? It has no effect. The only thing it does is it stirs people up. It makes everybody in this room mad at each other. I was so afraid after the last meeting with the comments that were made at me, I asked a deputy to walk me to my car. What does that say when that is what people who have chosen to serve the public, what does it say when that's where we've come? That we don't feel safe because the public is so enraged about somebody who provides health care at the jail that we come to meetings and we're nasty to each other and we're mean and we call names and we claim it's not political. So I just ask you, this resolution does nothing but divide us. Nothing but divide us. And we don't need any more division. This pandemic has been very hard on all of us, some more than others. But if we're going to recognize people, there's a long list of people that need recognizing. And I, for one, want this body to stand up and be responsible and quit being a sideshow for Twitter. Let's govern and take care of the county, our employees, and our citizens. Thanks, Judge.
JP Rio Stafford, and then JP Simons.
Thank you, Judge Wood. To me, this is a choice of what kind of county leaders we want to be. Are we the kind of county leaders that just double down when uncomfortable questions come up? Or are we the kind of county leaders that take a step back, wait for all the facts to come out, but in the meantime, keep striving to do better and better? In light of the legal case that's pending, I do not think that this is the right time to be passing out kudos to anyone. This Quorum Court just renewed this medical provider's contract to the tune of $1.4 million. The county did not take any other bids. So I think that that payment alone should be adequate for now, and we should wait to see how everything else plays out. Otherwise, we risk putting this governing body into the whirlwind of lawsuits when there's no reason for us to be doing so.
Any other discussion? JP Simons.
Thank you, Chair. I find the irony behind some of the statements tonight palpable. In the same vein of unification and not being divisive, the person who said these things, one of the people who attacked me after I took my health care and my own personal advocacy and sought treatment where I saw fit to give myself the best chances of recovery. My name was slandered. My wife was attacked.
He's talking to me. What's the point of order?
We're attacking fellow JPs, and that's not appropriate. It's a violation of.
I'm making statements.
All right.
You attacked me.
I didn't even mention your name.
Okay. Go ahead, JP Simons.
I'm done.
JP Deacons.
So is that a no on the point of order?
Yeah, it was. It's done. We heard you. It's done.
Is that a no on the point of order?
Yeah, it was. No, yes, it was.
So you're going to allow him to attack another JP?
He didn't. He was talking to me about, go ahead, JP Deacons.
Thank you, Judge Wood. There's one, when we answer the question why, the overarching why here is because I appreciate all of our dedicated people in our county and I appreciate our service providers. I think we need to be very cognizant of the fact that law enforcement, detention officers, dispatchers, people who work in our facilities, those are very hard to find right now. And the division occurred when some of us started making statements that were derogatory towards the service providers that we have in this county. And then my discussions with Sheriff Helder very much were the opposite of that, of how much he appreciated them, how much they're an asset to this county, and how much it's not a given that we have people like that who want to serve in the capacity that they serve so diligently into our county. So that's why this is here, because there's one side of the narrative getting out, and I believe it's important for us as a county to show our appreciation in the other side of that narrative. Now, while there's allegations that have been made and lawsuits that will be pending, that's all fine. The courts will judge those, and the facts will be adjudicated through that process. And we live in a wonderful country that has a great judicial system, and I invite that process to play out. But I don't think that should stop us from thanking people who came into our facility day in and day out at the risks of their own health and at the risks of their family's health to effectively serve our county. So that's the why. I can't make that clear enough. And I want my colleagues to please join me in supporting these wonderful people who have served our county. Thank you, Judge Wood.
J.P. Washington.
Thank you, Judge Wood. I would like to amend this resolution. I would like to make an amendment that the words "spread from Wuhan, China" in line 15 be stricken. I would also like to amend that the line 17, while the numbers and effects of this virus have, in line 18, been largely exaggerated, I would like to amend it that those words be stricken as well.
Have a motion to amend items, what lines were that again? 17, 15, 16?
Line 15.
15.
Spread from Wuhan, China, and then lines 17 and 18.
17 and 18.
The words, while the numbers and effects of the virus have been largely exaggerated.
All right, we have a motion and a second by J.P. Madison. All in favor?
It was Hires.
Oh, who?
Hires.
J.P. Hires. We have a motion and a second to amend the resolution. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. All right, the noes have it. So we're back to the resolution. We have a motion and a second. Did we have a second? We have a second? J.P. Simons. Public comments. Public comments. One of the JPs.
Yeah, I'm Richard Tiffany in Fayetteville. Since this came up in the jail committee, I have had the privilege of speaking to a few people who have been in the county jail for more than a day or two. And there's a general mistrust for the medical care that they get there. They feel like if they've got a problem, unless it's bad enough that they can convince somebody to take them to the hospital and get some real treatment, they avoid making it known that that they have an illness or some other issue. And with the multiple lawsuits that have been filed to praise someone who has complete control over the medical conditions, it's not like we are out here, where if we don't like how a doctor is treating us, that we can go to a different doctor. When you're in the jail, you've got one choice, and that's to accept what's there, and to have the mistrust and the just that there's not another choice with all the lawsuits. I think this is kind of a cover-up, and I think that it's inappropriate. Thanks.
Mr. Tiffany, citizen comments. Citizen comments.
Hello, my name is Ann Britton, and I live in Washington County. And I'd like to add my support for this resolution. I've been here at the Quorum Court. I used to come back when Jesse was a JP, so I have seen a great deal of change here at the Quorum Court. I never have seen such viciousness on the part of some members of the court towards the opposite party, and I'd like to go on the record for that. I want to say that I do support this resolution. I think that some people are assuming that the doctor is guilty of something which has not been proven in court. And the last time I looked at the Constitution and read that, he's innocent until proven guilty. Failure to recognize Dr. Karras's dedication to early COVID treatment is not just for the jail population. I'm going to assert, as having been in the medical profession all my adult life and served on the Arkansas State Medical Board for 8 years, and then serving on the National Federation of State Medical Boards for 10. As a fellow of that organization, I am going to assure you, in my time studying this aspect of COVID, we would have had many more deaths in Washington County and Northwest Arkansas if it were not for this doctor standing up and having the testicular fortitude to go forward and treat COVID early. And I think that's what we want. We want lives saved. And so he should be recognized and rewarded for going against some mandates, restricting his medical decision-making process. He stood up for his patients. He stood up for what was right. And I just hope that you all will do it as well. Thank you very much.
Citizen comments? Citizen comments.
My name's Lou Sharp, and I'm from Tawnytown, Arkansas. As many of you know, I'm a retired RN. So I know we hear a lot about the Constitution and people's rights here.
Hold tight, Ms. Sharp.
So I went...
Hold tight, Ms. Sharp. Can we give the citizen... Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, I'm a retired nurse. And so we've talked a lot about Constitution and stuff like this. And so I just went and looked it up. And under the Constitution, the 14th Amendment states, the state cannot deny any individual the right to exercise a reasonable choice in the method of treatment of his ills. I don't understand if Dr. Karras and the medical team were standing up and treating patients right and properly, then why did they not just go ahead and inform the patient that they were giving them medication and give them a choice? Because that's just basic medical care, to let patients have information so they can choose. So why not stand up and tell the truth to the patients that they, in fact, were going to give them ivermectin and give them a choice, right? I mean, how hard was that? And, I mean, that's all I have to say. If that's the right thing to do, let's give people the choice. Were they not given a choice because they were in a clinical trial of some kind? Thank you.
Citizen comments?
I just want to highlight some of the facts here.
Tell us who you are and where you live.
Nikki Beaver, Washington County. Arkansas had the 5th highest deaths per person in correctional facilities. So it is not an accident that we had 0 deaths. Dr. Harris deserves all the recognition he can get for keeping all of them alive. I have no idea how anyone could be upset about not losing any lives. It's not an experiment. He saved 850 lives, period. That's why he's being recognized today.
Citizen comments?
Hello. I do this for a living, and I'm very nervous tonight. But my name is Sita Nanthavong, and I am here as a public citizen. I live in Fayetteville. On a personal level, I think Dr. Harris is wonderful. I went to church with him for a number of years, watching him and his wife and their lovely family grow up. I don't have any personal issues with Dr. Harris at all. What I have issues with is line 15. Where it states, the SARS-CoV-19 disease spread from Wuhan, China. I'm Asian, and I do find offense with this. When a certain ex-president of ours started calling it the China flu and the Chinese disease and stuff, you know, there was a lot of violence being conducted towards Asian individuals, especially the older population, because they're supposed to be helpless, right? And Asians are supposed to be very, you know, docile. And, you know, my mom is in her 60s and retired. You know, she has type 1 diabetes and all sorts of things. And I was so scared that she was going to be a victim of violence because of terms like disease spread from Wuhan, China. I just want you guys to know that your words and the things that you put into public record affect people like me, the small people, the people who don't always come up and speak before you because we're afraid, we're timid, we're shy, whatever. I thank you for your time and for these 30 seconds or a minute. Thank you.
Rashida. Public comments.
Hi, I'm Tanya Charlton from Benton County. Can I still speak?
Yep.
Thank you. Ms. Madison, you asked why we were addressing anything to do with Dr. Karras. Or
No, all comments are directed to me.
okay, I'm sorry. You had someone on the board ask why we were addressing Dr. Karras. Well, she was the first one, Ms. Madison was the first one who brought him up in this setting in August. And that was the first time that I had publicly heard of Dr. Karras prescribing things. She was upset because he had prescribed ivermectin to someone she knew. And that was when he became national news. So someone on Ms. Madison was the original person to bring him up. The other thing I wanted to address was the Wuhan virus. If you have done any research with the CDC about how they set the PCR tests, you can go to the CDC and find out on their website, or at least I have the documentation if you'd like to get your hands on that, I have it. They set the PCR test to the Wuhan pneumonia virus. It is set to catch the Wuhan pneumonia virus. So the virus that has been positive all this time on those PCR tests is the Wuhan pneumonia virus. I have documentation from the CDC. So anybody who's offended by the fact that it says it's from Wuhan, I'm sorry, but that's from the CDC. So I just wanted to lay a couple of those things out.
Public comments. 1 minute left in public comments.
Jacqueline Perry Ryan, Springdale, Arkansas. I heard a comment a while ago that, you know, the prisoners were not given a choice. Well, when you fly on a plane, we have no rights. We have to do what the pilot and what the stewardesses say. We lose our rights when we fly on a plane. You lose rights when you create a crime. So there's no choice, and you should be appreciative of any kind of medications that you can get in a detention facility. And actually, I mean, ivermectin is a pill form. It is human form. It's not just a horse warmer. I took horse warmer a year ago when I had COVID, but I have no problem taking ivermectin. It was approved in 2015 for human use.
And that would be it with citizen comments. Miss, you got a quick one, real quick?
It's going to take 30 seconds.
All right, the JPs will have to extend the time. If there's not, then we'll move on to the vote. It was 8 seconds left, and so in all fairness, I want to say that you have 8 seconds if you want to get it out in 8 seconds.
Debbie McLeod, Benton County. I would like to remind everyone that there is an allegation that the inmates received ivermectin without their knowledge. That is an allegation.
All right, thank you. Ms. Myra? Yes.
Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Shonda Washington.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Robert Dennis. No. Suki Hires.
No.
Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Passed.
All right. That was item 15. Item 16. Council, will you read that one by title only?
A resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, supporting the principle of informed consent to medical treatments.
And J.P. Rio Stafford.
Thank you, Judge Wood. This resolution is simply about restoring the public's trust that our Washington County government believes in doing things by the book. It simply says that we endorse that any medical provider who does business with the county should follow the law and follow medical best practices when it comes to letting patients know what kind of drugs and treatments they're getting. This resolution does not take a side in any of the lawsuits the county is facing. It is up to the courts to decide exactly what happened at the Washington County Detention Center. But what should not be up for debate is the idea that everyone should know what they're being given. That's why when you go to the pharmacy, you get those little information packets with your prescription. The pharmacist offers to explain to you what you're taking. And you don't lose that right when you're a detainee. Some people believe that we have already been doing the right thing. If that is the case, then supporting this resolution should be a slam dunk. This resolution is merely about restoring the public's trust that our local government supports doing things the right way. And with that, I move for passage of this resolution.
There's a motion to pass the resolution. There's a second by, is there a second? J.P. Hires seconds. Discussion? J.P. Pine?
Yes, thank you. I was about to be led to believe, because of the discussion about this issue, that we shouldn't be discussing because it's going through court. I was about to believe that people incarcerated at the Washington County Jail were not being informed about the type of treatment they were receiving, the type of medication. And then today, when I saw the stack of papers, the consent forms that have to be signed by these detainees before they receive treatment, it's just very difficult to believe that every precaution was not taken to be sure that these folks knew what kind of treatment they were receiving. And I expect that's should be common knowledge to anyone that is interested in what goes on down there as far at the jail, as far as proper treatment. I'll be voting no for this because this resolution seems to be trying to lead people to believe medical treatment had just run amok at the Washington County Jail, and we have to have this to make sure those folks down there know that we're doing the proper thing. And I really don't appreciate that. The first time originally that I read this, it said, well, it seems to be perfectly harmless. And then I'm going, oh, but wait. This is trying to spoof the people into believing they're not getting the proper treatment down there, and they don't even know what kind of pills they're giving them. Anyway, thank you, Judge.
JP Hires, and then JP Madison.
Thank you, Judge. Just a couple of points that I want to make sure that everybody's aware of. That the right to informed consent is not something that's up to our judicial system. That's a done deal. That is part of your rights. I also want to remind some folks that people in our jail, at least more than 400, have not been convicted of a crime. They have been charged with a crime, and they can't afford bail, so they have not actually been convicted of a crime yet. And even if they had, people don't lose their rights when they're in jail. They lose some of them, but they don't lose their right to informed consent. And even signing the forms, I looked at the forms today, they're not waiving their right to informed consent about the medication that they're taking by signing those forms. I think this is a basic human right, and I actually am going to find it even more embarrassing if we don't pass this, because then we're saying, yeah, we don't believe in informed consent. Thank you.
JP Madison, and then JP Real Stafford.
The key with informed consent is it must come before the treatment. And if you've read the allegations in the ACLU's lawsuit, many of these pretrial detainees, innocent until proven guilty for those of you who read up on your Constitution apparently, they are claiming that after the allegations that were brought to light by a whistleblower, a county employee who was a whistleblower who came to me as an elected official, yes. And they then were offered forms to sign because they didn't have them before. You can't obtain informed consent after the fact. This is very basic. And if you vote against this, it has nothing to do with a court case. You're saying that doctors have the right to treat patients without telling them what's involved, without telling them what the side effects are, what the risks are, what the dangers are. You're saying that a doctor can do whatever he or she wants, which is crazy. So it's great that we have forms. We might want to use them.
JP Real Stafford, JP, yes.
Thank you, Judge Wood. I just wanted to respond to what JP Pons was saying and reiterate that this resolution does not take a side in the lawsuit. This resolution is not meant to cast aspersions on anyone or mislead the public in any way. In fact, this resolution is about restoring the public's trust that we just believe that things should be done by the book. It doesn't even suggest that things weren't being done by the book. It just reiterates that we believe in doing things the right way because there's been so much international news about this case. And really, that is the only point of this. Thank you.
JP Washington.
Thank you,
and
Judge.
then JP Lemming.
Thank you, Judge Wood. So in reading this and just taking an objective look at it, I had a lot of thoughts. And I think that a lot of people see informed consent as something sinister. It's what we're saying people are not doing. But I do want to provide some context about informed consent. If you will remember, the Tuskegee experiment was done over 40 years on over 400 men. that were untreated for syphilis. One of the things that came out of that was, in order for people to participate or to in studies, or in order for people to get treatment, that they needed to be informed before the treatment happened. Because during that study, some people were getting placebos. A lot of people did not get the penicillin shot, which was the current therapy. They didn't get that. So that's where informed consent comes from. So my question to this court is, some people are saying this is what we're already doing. If it's what we're already doing, what is the harm in this resolution? There is no harm if that's what we're already doing. So this is not a way to be overly critical of our current medical providers. I didn't read that when I read this. This is not our way of taking a side on pending litigation. I don't think it would be appropriate for a resolution to do that, and I don't believe that this does. What this is saying to the people of Washington County is that we as a quorum court believe that even if you are incarcerated, that your health care matters, that your humanity matters to us, and that our stance is that before you are given any type of treatment, not just ivermectin, but any type of treatment, that you know what you're getting, and you have the right to either take the treatment or to refuse the treatment. And if people on this court are asserting that that's what we already do, I don't see any reason why anybody could not vote for this.
J.B. Lemming.
I just can't believe that with all the laws and all the rules and all the regulations, that I think we're trying to reinvent the wheel. And I can't believe our jail's been down there as long as it's been down there, and we're doing everything wrong. I think the people are doing good. I think the doctor is wise enough to make the right choices. And I believe there's not one inmate down there that's ever been thrown on the ground and give him something out of his will. I believe they're doing what they need to be doing, and I believe that every one of them down there has got the right to take the medicine or not take the medicine. And I believe that the consent's already there, and I just believe this is something that we don't need to be arguing about. I think it's out of our realm. And I think the law's already there for us. Thank you.
All right, with that, citizen comments.
Sarah Moore, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Not only do I want to speak to this current resolution, but it kind of ties into the previous one that was approved, so I'll kind of combine them together in my conversation tonight. In previous conversations in Jail and Law Enforcement Committee in regard to the health care at the Washington County Detention Center, the supporters of supporting a resolution for Dr. Karras to applaud him for his efforts were kind of polled in the audience supporting this, whether or not they had had any interaction or been in the jail, and they said, oh, no, we haven't been. So I want you to think for a minute. We can have a perception from the outside when we have, no actual in front of you experience. We can have a viewpoint one way that things are happening in one particular viewpoint. However, I would challenge you and I would ask you whether or not you have someone close to you that potentially, and I know some of us in this room have, that have gone through the jail. I ask you, have you spent time visiting with your community members, with your constituents, talking to them about their experiences? This is a very valid resolution that's being brought forward because we've made, yes, national news, but in that national news and in a very, quick Google search, you can find that our healthcare provider has over 30 pending federal lawsuits against them for not, giving proper health care to people that are detained pre-trial, again, accused but not convicted. Could be any of us that could end up. We had some disorderly conduct. I mean, you can go to jail for these different things and need medical care. And so I think it's very concerning that we can't just go ahead and support this resolution tonight because unfortunately the one that you just passed has caused a lot of concern in the community. There are people that are watching this on YouTube that are going to see this in the newspaper, and they're going to think that their experience and the things that they went through at the jail is being discounted, that they're not being listened to. And just because you spend time at the Washington County Detention Center, you don't matter any differently. You don't lose your humanity. You don't lose your constitutional rights, and you don't lose your ability to give informed consent. So tonight, if you supported the resolution that came previous to this, I sure hope that you can easily support this one so you can try to instill some level of trust in the public, because right now it's very low. Thank you.
Public comments? Lisa.
Gladys Tiffany, Fayetteville. I think that's a really valid point that Ms. Sarah actually made, but there's another one I'd like to add to it, that the court case is still kind of pending, and we have just passed a resolution that does have some compromising elements to it about how the county feels about whatever the person who's in charge of that program. And this particular motion could very well provide the county some backup that says, okay, this person has been in charge. They've done good things, even though they may have done this informed consent problem that the case is about. But the county itself this is kind of a hold harmless issue for the county, that they say, okay, we are standing up for the law here, and we can defend our own position on informed consent, no matter what happens with the Karras case. And so I'd just like to encourage people to consider that one thing I'm seeing here is that it's the potential for the county to protect itself by having this boundary could be really real.
Public comments?
Nikki Beaver. I find it offensive that they assume that everyone on our side has no ties to anyone who's been in a correctional facility. My mother was in the Arkansas Department of Corrections, and I do have an idea of what goes on. So I find that offensive. Second, I have in my hands Karras Correctional Health Informed Consent Medication Treatment for COVID-19. On the back page, it says ivermectin, where they sign.
Public comments? Public comments? Public comments?
Just Kyle Lyons, Springdale. Sitting back here listening, I feel like members of this quorum court's a bit short-sighted. You're proposing a resolution to protect a small percentage of the citizens of Washington County. How about all of the citizens of Washington County being protected? The right to conformed consent has been stepped on by many of the citizens of this country and this county. And if you really want to get the county governments to be respected again, you should protect all the citizens of Washington County and not just the detention center inmates.
Public comments? Public comments. Ms. Myra? Oh, hold tight.
Hi there. I'm Avery Redfern from Fayetteville. I think some people on the court today have viewed this resolution as an attack on our medical officials. And reading this report, I do not think this is the case. I think it is simply like a resolution that will protect an extremely vulnerable group of people in the county jail that do not have someone vouching for them. And I think that in instilling this, it is simply protecting their right to implied consent rather than trying to harm the medical staff at the jail who have done their best throughout this pandemic. So, thank you.
Public comments? Okay, Ms. Myra.
Butch Pond. No. Lance Johnson. No. Shannon Marty. No. Sean Simons. No. Bill Usry. No. Patrick Deakins. No. Lisa Ecke. No. Sam Duncan. No. Chandra Washington.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Yes. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Failed.
Okay, that does not pass. All right, we'll move on to item 17. Council, will you read that one by title only?
Item 17 is an ordinance establishing guidelines for the expenditure of American Rescue Plan Act funds.
And that's J.P. Duncan.
At various committee meetings, different JPs requested that an application process be established. This ordinance is with the intention to do that. I move passage of item number 17.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? J.P. Rio Stafford.
Yes, thank you, Judge Wood. Earlier today, I had our court coordinator send out to all the JPs a proposed amendment to this ordinance, and you all received that in your email today, although you don't have a printed copy. So I'll summarize it. It adds 2 new sections to this ordinance. One is a whereas clause, and the other one is in Article 3. The whereas, I will read my copy. Whereas in the 2020 Washington County Criminal Justice Assessment, WCCJA, the National Center for State Courts examined ways to ease overcrowding at the Washington County Detention Center. County-related expenditures recommended in the WCCJA include but are not limited to, and then it goes on to list pretrial services, data-driven decision-making, adequate and balanced funding of the courts, prosecutors, and public defenders, coordinating and collaborating with local community and economic development agencies, the development of a pre-adjudication mental health court, and establishing mechanisms to join siloed management information systems together across agencies. Those are all taken directly from the criminal justice assessment that came out in 2020. So the Article 3 that I propose to be added would say, Article 3, the Washington County Quorum Court shall prioritize setting aside an adequate amount of ARPA funds in order to fulfill all eligible recommendations of the Washington County Criminal Justice Assessment. The exact amount is to be determined by the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. And I move to adopt this amendment.
We got a motion to amend the item 17. Is there a second? Second. There's a second by J.P. Hires. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? No. All right, so we go back to the original ordinance number 17. Who was that? We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any public comments? Any public comments? Ms. Myra? Oh, come on. All right.
I'm having to lug this. This is Sarah Moore from Fayetteville. I'm having to lug the $60,000 that we paid for, and I'll keep this up here in case someone hasn't been able to look at it. I've got notes in it. But I think it's incredibly short-sighted tonight if we can't get this amended and add in what was brought forward. We have actually been sitting on, we spent $60,000 on a criminal justice study. We said that we were really serious and we really thought it was detrimental to our county to continue with overcrowding in our jail. And now we need to look at all solutions possible and put them in place. We spent $60,000 of taxpayer money. We got findings back in August of 2020. And yet we've done very few of these. Many of these with minimal investment, and directly are eligible under the Federal Treasury guidelines for the American Rescue Plan Act's monies. If we implemented those, many of these would start to see relief immediately within our county jail for overcrowding. And much of this, again, is with our pretrial population who is taking up the majority of beds in the jail. Never mind the fact that these folks' lives are being decimated. Every single day that they spend in the jail is higher propensity for additional recidivism because they lose their jobs, they lose their housing, they lose their children, And so I'm incredibly concerned that every time there's been an opportunity lately that's come before this body to look at putting some funds aside that would be a benefit to the entire county, to all county community members, all of us, that we have not moved forward with it. So I understand that the CJCC will probably bring some specific numbers, but I think it's very important that we make sure we're earmarking some of these funds and that we're making sure that we have urgency behind putting these things in place. I don't want us to wait any more time if we really are serious that overcrowding bothers us. Putting a shovel in the ground and putting a new building and building more cages that are going to be detrimental to our community and decrease community safety is going to be years down the road. There are things that we can implement tomorrow, the next week, a month down the road. These will make impacts immediately to our community. And so I'm really saddened that we didn't amend that, and I really hope with the American Rescue Plan money that we can identify that some of the language in the Treasury's guidance was talking about this vulnerable population, this disproportionately impacted population due to COVID, due to intergenerational trauma and poverty. And so we have an opportunity and we continue to deny it with this body. And most of you can't look me in the eye because you know it's the truth. And I'm really disappointed and hope you'll move forward soon. Thank you.
Public comments. Public comments. All right, Ms. Myra.
Butch Pond. Yes. Lance Johnson.
It's on his first reading.
Shannon Marty.
Ms. Meyer, hold tight. It is on his first reading, though, so if we get the majority vote, then he'll move on to the second reading, unless it's suspend the rules, move to the second reading. So it's just on his first reading. Yep. Okay, J.B. Duncan.
I move we suspend the rules and take it to second reading.
Motion to suspend the rules, move to a second reading. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. Ms. Meyer, will you do a roll? This is on the motion to suspend the rules. We read for a second time.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Lance Johnson.
Yes.
Shannon Marty. Yes. Sean Simons. Yes. Bill Usry. Yes. Patrick Deakins. Yes. Lisa Ecke. Yes. Sam Duncan. Yes. Shonda Washington.
No.
Eva Madison.
No.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Suki Hires. No. Evelyn Rio Stafford. No. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson.
Yes.
Pass.
All right, Council.
Sorry. An ordinance establishing guidelines for the expenditure of American Rescue Plan Act funds.
J.P. Duncan.
I move we take it to third and final reading.
There's a motion to suspend the rules, read for third and final, second by J.P. Pond. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. Ayes have it. Go ahead, Council.
An ordinance establishing guidelines for the expenditure of American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Any discussion? Oh, go ahead. J.P. Duncan.
Move we pass item number 17.
Got a motion to move and pass item 17. Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any discussion? Any public comments?
Good evening. My name is Aaron Howerton, 2434 Cardinal Drive. Sorry for getting my own address because I don't use it often. District 4. I read an article a couple of weeks ago. It talked about the prison reduction numbers right before the pandemic, from February to May, and they managed to reduce the prison population by over 50% in a very short amount of time, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And in all the conversations I've heard, no one has addressed how that was achieved and why those measures wouldn't be a reasonable alternative to jail expansion now. So if anyone could speak to that, why that wouldn't work or why that did work then and doesn't work now, I would love to hear more about that in open discussion. Thank you.
Public comments?
Thank you. My name is Beth Koger. I live at 3661 Embrew Drive in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Because of public comments that have been made by members of the court, we know that if this ordinance is passed, that this money is going to go for jail expansion. And I just want to remind everyone that why we have these ARPA monies, they're to help the community, but we haven't done that. So if you vote for this ordinance, you're not voting to help the community that you were elected to represent, because people in the community are needing help and they could use this money. And I just want you to think about that and please vote against this.
Public comments. All right, Ms. Meyer. Oh.
Stuck on my earrings. Hello, April Backroad, Springdale, Arkansas. So I've been sitting back there trying to think of words or what to say, because I'm just feeling so sad and defeated as someone who has the privilege of working with formerly incarcerated women every day, who are just the most incredible, brightest, compassionate people I've ever had the honor of working with. And when I see these solutions to improve our criminal justice system, and y'all just shoot it down, like I don't understand. I've talked with a number of y'all, and y'all are good people, and you are here because you love this community. I don't doubt that for a second. But then we get up here, and it's like, where is our heart? Where is our compassion? Where's that fire that you bring when you talk to me about solutions for our community? It's gone when you get up here. And so I'm concerned with this, that y'all will spend the money on the county. There will be nothing left at the end for the nonprofits. It will be gone. And then what? We've missed out on this incredible opportunity to improve this community that each and every one of you cares so much about. So I'm just asking, meet with me. I've emailed each of you a number of times. I know it's a bit obnoxious. I'm not going to stop because I care, and I know each of you care. So let's talk. I want to listen. Help me understand how we can work together in a way that actually makes a difference and a positive impact in our community. That's what I'm inviting you to do. Thank you all so much.
Public comments. Public comments. All right, Ms. Myra, up.
Ann Britton. I live in Prairie Grove, and I've heard about this jail expansion for years, and I think once more I'm going to say, and I advocate for the jail expansion. I have been through law enforcement training, and I can totally appreciate what a difficult time our sheriff's department has had in dealing with people, especially during a pandemic. I would not want to serve in law enforcement right now. And with the rate of crime that we are seeing currently and the illegal immigration that is coming across our border, I'm saying that you can't build this thing fast enough to protect the innocent citizens that need protection from criminal elements such as members of gangs, people who are human trafficking, people who are bringing in prostitution of young children. These are all very serious threats to the very youngest and the very oldest. And when you add into it just the initiation of certain gangs to just go out and kill somebody who's totally innocent because that's they're getting into a gang. These people are coming. We know they are. This jail expansion should have been built years ago. The people who are talking about the victims, I totally sympathize. But this is where the churches and the non-governmental agencies come into play, not government. You are here to protect the citizens of the county and the state and the country. Thank you very much. And I do read the Constitution, Ms. Eva. I have it in my purse.
Public comments.
Jacqueline Perry, Ryan, Springdale, Arkansas. Two quick stories. Actually, one great story. I do mostly commercial real estate. I leased a guy a warehouse back in October, November time. He was needing some help to get his products, his stuff moved from one warehouse to another in Springdale. I mean, it's just across town. And he made a YouTube video. He was so upset because he called Seven Hills Homeless Shelter, and he needed 3 guys. He would pay them each $15 an hour to help him move, probably for a week's time. $15 an hour just to help him move across town in the city of Springdale. And he couldn't find any help. They were very happy at Seven Hills Homeless Shelter. So those people have what they want where they don't have to go to work. So we need a jail. We have a growing population. We are blipping all over the place. We are not a secret anymore. We have over 500,000 MSA, Metropolitan Statistic Area, actually probably 650,000 right now, and we need a jail the other day. Last year, 5 years ago, we need a jail, please.
Public comments.
Hi, you guys. Sophia Dugweiler. I live in Fayetteville. I am a piece of that population of people that have been incarcerated multiple times. I am a drug addict. I'm a person in long-term recovery from drugs, and that's not because I was incarcerated. It's not because I went to county jail the first time. It's not because I went to prison the first, second, or third time. The fourth time I went to prison, I got some treatment, and that was helpful. That set like a firm foundation for my recovery. Upon that release, I went to transitional living at Magdalene Serenity House, and I received ongoing support. I learned new behaviors. I learned how to be a good friend, how to be a good mother, how to be a good employee. So for the first time in my life, I'm making a living wage as the result of all that. And something I've learned is when I make more money, I spend more money. I think when we build more beds in the jail, we're going to house more people in the jail. Like, we can lock up as many people as we want. I mean, we could have overcrowding for days. I think that the best way to diminish that overcrowding is to get people the help that they need. Every time I was released from prison, I relapsed, and I hurt people, and I stole from people. I hurt my family. I wasn't a good mother. Every time. Well, 3 times. And then I would get reincarcerated. And then I was released to go back out and hurt people. I mean, locking people up is not the solution. That's not a solution. It's postponing the solution. I remember one time I talked to my mom while I was incarcerated, and she was like, "Oh, thank God you're locked up." I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And she told me that that was the only time where she felt safe, and she knew that I was safe, was while I was incarcerated. But rest assured that my mom feels she has 100% faith in me today. You know what I mean? She knew that that was a temporary solution then. There would come a day where I was released and I might mess up again. But today, my mom has 2 girls that are in recovery and are thriving in their communities, and she doesn't have to worry about that anymore at all. Like, I feel like she's probably proud of me today. She's not scared of me, she's proud of me. And that's not the result of incarceration, that's the result of public services. So I just ask that I feel like y'all are gonna expand the jail anyways, probably. But if you're gonna go ahead and do so, would you please include some public services in there? All of the things that have been identified as solutions, if you're gonna expand it anyways, just build those in there. So, thank you.
Public comments done. Ms. Myra?
Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Ussery. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Passed.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Myra. Item 18 was added. JP Ecke? Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, this is an ordinance amending ordinance 2021-01 to permit committee chairs to set the time for their committee meetings. As personnel chairman, we have personnel meeting followed by jail and law enforcement meeting, but then before that we have JSAT meeting, and waiting till 6 o'clock is very late, and I'm hoping that if members of the committee would like to meet at 5:30, as we had in the past, and that was the norm since I joined the court in 2015, then I would like it to be for the discretion of the chairman and the committee members. If they want to keep it at 6 o'clock, then that is the discretion of the committee and the chairman to make that decision. But I would like to make a motion that we amend this ordinance to allow committee chairs to set the time for their committees. Thank you.
It's on its first read. We got a motion and a second.
I'd like to suspend the rules and advance it to the second reading.
Well, let's have council read the ordinance and then read it as amended.
An ordinance amending ordinance 2021-1 to permit committee chairs to set the time for committee meetings.
Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and advance it to the second reading.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. All right, council, go ahead and read that for a second.
An ordinance amending ordinance 2021-01 to permit committee chairs to set the time for committee meetings.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and advance this to the third and final reading, Judge.
There's a motion and a second to read the ordinance for a third and final. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, council, will you read that one for a third and final?
An ordinance amending ordinance 2021-01 to permit committee chairs to set the time for committee meetings.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to pass.
There's a motion to pass, a second by JP Pond. Discussion? Any discussion? JP Lemming?
Just taking consideration that some of us got jobs and we got a ways to drive, 5:30 sometimes is close. I'll come, I may be dirty or have overalls on, so it'll be okay.
JP Madison and then JP Ecke.
I was just going to say something similar to be respectful to those of us that do have to get here. And I know some folks work in Benton County and things like that. And that was I think the initial goal with the 6 o'clock. But when we start getting into 9 o'clock meetings, I appreciate an earlier start time. But
Amen.
I would just ask that with this discretion that county chairs, the chairs of committees be considerate of the members and their work schedules. Thanks.
And then JP Ecke.
And I completely agree. As a person who works on the north side of Springdale, and some people drive like there's what we call it Sunday driving, and they don't move over, and it's very difficult to get here sometimes. So I understand that, but it's up to the discretion of the committee and the chairman, and to take into that consideration. That's all. Thank you.
Any other discussion? JP Washington.
Thank you. This definitely is something that I understand, especially for the folks who are in the jails, law enforcement, and courts committee. But during the comments, I'm hearing that it is up to the discretion of the committee chair and the committee. That is not reflected here in the ordinance. So do we need to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It is the committee chairman, but I would assume that the committee chair would be considerate of
right. So
their
that's my
committee.
Right, I understand. So
that's
my
not
point.
what the ordinance says. No, it's the chairman.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my point is that it says the chair, And I don't believe that any chair would just deliberately set a meeting time that would not work. But I just think that if we're going to pass this, let's make sure that we pass it so that we don't leave any gaps and holes in it. So I don't know how to word that. I don't know if you would accept a friendly amendment. Is that okay?
What would it be? What would your friendly amendment be?
Do we have to read it all over again? No. You can make a motion to amend.
Okay, never mind.
Any other discussion? Public comments?
Sarah Moore, Fayetteville. I appreciate bringing this forward and understand that we want to be respectful of the schedules of those on the court. During your discussion, though, I didn't hear any conversation about the public who would be in attendance, and they might be traveling from, those other areas as well to come to the meetings if it's at the discretion of the chair. If it's moving at different times, and I think it's always 6 and it gets changed. But the other thing that I am more concerned about is just procedural. We had talked about and had discussions on this body in recent months about the progression of bringing ordinances forward. And so I think it would just be proper procedure for us, unless something's time sensitive and there's urgency or emergency to it, to try to not skip past committee. And so it seems like this would probably be an ordinance that should be in committee first before it comes to the full body, and should have full public notice before it would go forward. So I'd ask for that consideration tonight. Not that I'm for or against this, just think that maybe there could be some more discussion amongst the community. Thank you.
Public comments?
Beth Koger, 3661 Embry Drive, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'd just like to, I was going to say some of the things that Ms. Moore just already said, that first of all, I don't understand why this ordinance is coming forward now, and I might have had a chance to ask questions about it or to contact the JP who brought it, but it wasn't on the agenda, so I didn't have that opportunity. Also, when we talk about convenience, all I hear is like, this is about the court, but how's it going to be if different committee chairs set different times? That's going to be very confusing to the community. It's going to make it hard. I want to remind you guys that you ran for public office and you get paid for being here. It's not about your convenience. It's about the convenience to the community. So please vote against this ordinance. It's a bad ordinance. And this ordinance is being brought by someone who also brought an ordinance a couple of years ago to move public comment to the end of the meetings. So let's just remember this. Think about the community, think about the people who voted you to represent them, and think about their convenience and not about your convenience. Thank you.
Public comments? Ms. Myra?
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
No.
Shannon Marty, Sean Simons, Bill Usry, Patrick Deakins, Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan, Shonda Washington,
No.
Eva Madison, Robert Dennis, Suki Hires, Evelyn Rio Stafford, Willie Lemming, Jim Wilson,
Pass.
Thank you, Ms. Myra. That passes. Item 19, that'd be J.P. Deakins.
Thank you, Judge Wood. This is the ordinance we added to accept the long-anticipated additional continuation of our emergency rescue plan. And I'd like to take a moment to thank Judge Wood and his staff for their diligent efforts in distributing this money. It's, if one thing the pandemic's taught us, it's the challenges and inefficiencies of the government handing out millions of dollars, and I want to thank Judge Wood and his team for doing a great job at that. I move passage of this item.
We got a motion and a second. Council, read them by title only.
An ordinance recognizing revenue and appropriating expenditures in the amount of $3 million to the Emergency Rental Assistance Grant Fund for 2022.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Discussion, public comments? Oh, I'm sorry, J.P. Rio Stafford.
Thank you, Judge Wood. The only thing that I wanted to bring up is that when this came, I think it was this. No, it was during our county services committee. An attorney came and spoke to us about this emergency rental assistance, and we never heard any kind of follow-up about it. And I'm wondering if our county attorney has any response.
Counselor? Counselor, you want to have any? I don't know. I haven't seen. I wasn't in that meeting, so I don't know.
Okay, a response to what he said? I mean, no, the county is where it was before that meeting and will continue to be there. This money will help go out to people that are waiting for emergency rental assistance.
J.P. Lemming and then J.P. Madison.
So this $3 million would make a total of $9 million that we spend in housing, is that correct? A total, is that about what we spent last year and this year?
12. This brings us up to, we're at 9 million. This brings us up to 12.
About 12, okay. Thank you.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. I was actually going to mention something about what J.P. Rio Stafford mentioned. Jim Crouch, who came and is working with the Fayetteville Housing Association, or I don't know, he's working also with the nonprofit arm, and he had reached out to me. He says that the county has accused individuals who applied for assistance that are in Fayetteville Housing of fraud, which really concerned me. And so, Judge, you said you didn't know about it. I'd appreciate it if at some point you could give us an update on that, just because it's a large amount of money that's very critical to this entity. And so, if I don't want to be the entity that undoes that one. And so it just sounded like we were making some pretty serious allegations that Jim Crouch was like utterly shocked about and couldn't imagine that, you know, the entity had done that and had researched it to find that there was no basis for that. And so I would just appreciate it if you would find out a little bit more of that and see if we can't move that along. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Public comments? Public comments? All right, Ms. Myra.
I don't have any additional slots, so you'll just be voice call. JP Pond? Yes. Lance Johnson? Yes. Shannon Marty? Yes. Sean Simons? Yes. Bill Usry? Yes. Patrick Deakins? Yes. Lisa Ecke? Yes. Sam Duncan? Yes. Chandra Washington? Yes. Eva Madison? Yes. Robert Dennis? Yes. Suki Hires? Yes. Evelyn Rio Stafford? Yes. Willie Lemming? Yes. Jim Wilson? Yes. Passes.
All right, the ordinance passes. Committee reports. JP, let's go with the first one. County Services, JP Duncan.
Reports in the packet.
Go to Finance and Budget, JP Deakins.
Reports in the packet.
Jails and Law Enforcement. And Personnel, JP Ecke.
Reports in the packet, Judge. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.